All right, welcome to the Patriot Hour for Saturday, July 20th, 2019. I'm Michael, your host. If you're new to the channel, thanks for stopping by, folks. We know you're busy. We know you're probably enjoying your Saturday. If hopefully you're staying cool. There is a heat wave across 2/3 of the country. It's been going on for about a week and a half, maybe 2 weeks. Most of the summer's been pretty humid for a lot of the Midwest and Midwest, heading out west, even past the Midwest. So it's been a heat wave, 2/3 of the country under heat advisory. So stay cool, folks. If you're outside, possibly. I've been in a pool, hanging out with the neighbors and friends. So it's been great. Jumped over here. I did a video earlier, the same video I'm getting ready to do. Funny enough, none of the words, no audio recorded. Glitch in the system. I don't know. I have everything engaged. I did a test right now to make sure I'm not wasting my time, because a video without any audio is worthless. So, all right, take a look in the description box. Got some donations. Really appreciate it. In the description box are all the links to the website, the donation sites, which we appreciate, and the article that we're getting ready to go over. It'll always be there, folks. So take a look in the description box right below this video. Other than that, take a look in the comment section. Some of the greatest Patriots around right here, part of the Patriot Hour. Some of the best Patriots ever did meet, folks, and they'll point you in the right directions. And just to links, articles, videos, great stuff. I just got a drop down there. Somebody put a name of something, talking about the Hollywood and the elite and how they work. And I've known this all, look into this person. And boy, oh boy, I've been actually looking into that for 2 or 3 days based off a comment. And give a thumbs up. It helps beat the algorithms. All right, no more jitter jabbering around. We'll get right into it here. Make sure you're subscribed. And if you're returning Patriot, welcome back. If you're new, welcome. Okay, we got Jeffrey Epstein is just the tip of the iceberg. Sexual predators fill the ruling class. So folks, if you remember the lady that was running the Hollywood prostitution ring for the elite back in the early 90s, she went down for 6 or 7 years. Heidi Fleiss. She went down in 92, did her 6 or 7 years federal time, and then got out in 97, 98, something like that, and went on a talk show spree where she talked, dropped some names, and I mean, nobody really went down. It was a mostly consensual adult prostitution for the elite. Lots of A-list actors, politicians, but as political and economic freedom diminishes, sexual freedom tends, compensating to increase. And the dictator, unless he needs cannon fodder and families to which colonize empty or conquered territories, will do well to encourage that freedom. Aldous Huxley, Brave New World. Power corrupts. Okay, let me turn this down a little bit. So, all right, power corrupts. Anyone who believes differently hasn't been paying attention. Politics, religion, sports, government, entertainment, business, armed forces, it doesn't matter what arena you're talking about. They are all riddled with the kind of seedy, sleazy, decadent, dodgy, depraved, immoral, corrupt behavior that somehow gets a free pass when it involves the wealthy and powerful elite in America. In this age of partisan politics and deeply polarized populist corruption, especially when it involves sexual debauchery, depravity, and predatory behavior, has become the great equalizer. Take Jeffrey Epstein, the hedge fund billionaire, convicted serial pedophile, recently arrested on charges of molesting, raping, and sex trafficking dozens of young girls. It is believed that Epstein operated his own personal sex trafficking ring, not only for his personal pleasure, but also for the pleasure of his friends and business associates. According to the Washington Post, several of the young women say they were offered to the rich and famous as sex partners at Epstein's parties. So Epstein would have parties and then offer them up as you can have sex with her if you would like, Mr. Clinton or whoever. Folks, this is And then, the guy got arrested on the molesting, raping, and sex trafficking in New York, but didn't have to register as a sex offender. I mean, this guy went to jail and got to leave every day as well. He really got a little, slap on the wrist for all that he had did. It's unbelievable, the cover-up. So it is believed that Epstein operated his own personal sex trafficking ring, and not only for his personal pleasure, but also for the pleasure of his friends and business associates. According to the Washington Post, several of the young women say they were offered to the rich and famous as sex partners at Epstein's parties. At various times, Epstein ferried his friends on his private plane, nicknamed the Lolita Express. This is part of America's seedy underbelly. As I documented in an in-depth piece I wrote earlier this year, child sex trafficking, the buying and selling of women, young girls and boys for sex, some as young as 9 years old, has become big business in America. It is the fastest growing business in organized crime and the second most lucrative commodity traded illegally after drugs and guns. Adults purchase children for sex at least 2.5 million times a year in the United States. It's not just young girls who are vulnerable to these predators either. According to a 2016 investigative report, boys make up about 36% of children caught up in the U.S. sex industry. About 60% are female, and less than 5 are transgender males and females. Who buys a child for sex? Otherwise ordinary men from all walks of life. They could be your co-worker, doctor, pastor, or spouse, writes journalist Tim Swarens, who spent more than a year, investigating the sex trade in America. Ordinary men, yes, but then there are the extraordinary men, such as Jeffrey Epstein, who belong to a powerful, wealthy, elite segment of society that operates according to their own rules, or rather, are allowed to sidestep the rules that are used like a bludgeon on the rest of us. These men stake a free accountability in taking advantage of a criminal justice system that panders to the powerful, the wealthy, and the elite. Over a decade ago, when Epstein first charged with raping and molesting young girls, he was gifted a secret plea deal with the then U.S. Attorney Alexander Acosta, President Trump's current labor secretary, that allowed him to evade federal charges and be given the equivalent of a slap on the wrist, allowed to work at home 6 days a week before returning to jail, basically just to sleep. That secret plea deal has since been ruled illegal by a federal judge. So think about that. I mean, the guy didn't really suffer any consequence. He never really felt the true sting of getting in trouble. Let's say that right there. That is a walk in the park for this guy. Unbelievable, unbelievable, the cover-up here for a long time. Now, earlier I read this article. It goes into right here. Yes, here's the thing. Epstein did not act alone. I refer not only to Epstein's accomplices, this story gets a little crazy here, who recruited and groomed the young girls he is accused of raping and molesting, many of them homeless or vulnerable, but the circle of influential friends and colleagues that at one time included Bill Clinton and Donald Trump. Both Clinton and Trump, renowned womanizers who have also been accused of sexual impropriety by a significant number of women, were at one time passengers on the Lolita Express. So I don't know if I know there's lots of flight logs out on Bill Clinton. I've reported on that. I have not physically myself seen any for Donald, but maybe he did fly. Now, Trump said he's never been to the island, but we'll see. We'll see as the list comes out, and we'll see who is what and what is who. As the Associated Press points out, the arrest of the billionaire financier on child sex trafficking charges is raising questions about how much his high-powered associates knew about the hedge fund's manager interactions with underage girls and whether they turned a blind eye to potentially illegal conduct. In fact, a recent decision by a Second Circuit Court of Appeals allowing 2,000-page document linked to Epstein case to be unsealed references allegations of sexual abuse involving numerous prominent American politicians, powerful business executives, foreign presidents, as well as a well-known prime minister and other world leaders. This is not a minor incident involving minor players, folks. This is the heart of the darkness. Sex slaves, sex trafficking, secret societies, powerful elites, government corruption, and judicial cover-ups. Once again, fact or fiction mirror each other. 20 years ago, Stanley Kubrick's final film, Eyes Wide Shut, provided viewing audience with a sordid glimpse into the secret society that indulged the beast urges of its affluent members while preying on vulnerable young women. It is not so different from the real world, where powerful men, insulated from accountability, indulge their base urges. So, I don't know if you've ever seen that movie. I've actually seen it years ago. Didn't really understand it. I would say a few years ago, I watched it again because I knew that it was a message put out, a glimpse into how they run some of these seances or occultic, symbologic rituals. Crazy, folks. So I would say, if you can gut it, watch it with the open eyes that you need to and be aware. Then it can't influence you or whatever. But it's a crazy movie. Otherwise, don't waste your time. Tom Cruise or something is one of the main characters in that. So these secret societies flourish, implied Kubrick, because the rest of us are content to navigate life with our eyes wide shut, in denial about the ugly, obvious truths in our midst. In doing so, we've become accomplices to the abusive behavior in our midst. This is how corruption by the power elite flourishes. That is correct, folks. For every Epstein who is finally called to account for his illegal sexual exploits after years of being given a free pass by those in power, there are hundreds, perhaps thousands more in the halls of power and wealth whose predation of those most vulnerable among us continues unabated. While Epstein's alleged crimes are heinous enough on their own, he is part of a larger narrative of how a culture of entitlement becomes a cesspool and a breeding ground for despots and predators. Remember the D.C. madame who was charged with operating a phone order sex business? Her clients included thousands of White House officials, lobbyists, and Pentagon, FBI, to the IRS employees, as well as prominent lawyers, none of whom were ever exposed or ever held accountable. Power corrupts. Worse, as a 19th century historian Lord Auction concluded, absolute power corrupts absolutely. Doesn't matter whether you're talking about a politician, an entertainment mogul, a corporate CEO, or a police officer. Give any one person or government agency too much power and allow him or her it to believe that they are entitled, untouchable, and will not be held accountable for their actions, and those in powers will eventually be abused. We're seeing this dynamic play out every day in communities across America. A cop shoots an unarmed citizen for no credible reason and gets away with it. A president employs executive orders to sidestep the Constitution and gets away with it. A government agency spies on its citizens' communications and gets away with it. An entertainment mogul sexually harasses aspiring actresses and gets away with it. The U.S. military bombs a civilian hospital and gets away with it. All right, abuse of power and the ambition, fueled hypocrisy, and deliberate disregard for misconduct that makes those abuses possible works the same, whether you're talking about sex crimes, government corruption, and or the rule of law. It is the same old story all over again. Man rises to power, man abuses power anomaly, man intimidates and threatens anyone who challenges him with retaliation or worse. And man gets away with it because of the culture of compliance in which no one speaks up because they don't want to lose their job or their money or their place among the elite. That's how it works for those people up there in power. I mean, even us, we have our small circles and we have our own family, we have our own friends, and sometimes you don't want to speak out on them, you don't want to be shunned, you don't want to be outcasted. It works that way, folks, and things will never change until we change that. That is one of the problems we need to take care of, the way we talk to people, the way we even try to wake people up. Like I've said it before, you're evil, I'm not. You're bad, I'm good. You're wrong, I'm right. We can't do that. The old norms, they don't work. Shuts people down right away. So it's not just sexual predators that we have to worry about. For every Jeffrey Epstein or Bill Clinton or Harvey Weinstein, Roger Ailes or Bill Cosby, and this guy or Donald Trump, who eventually gets called out for his sexual misbehavior, they've all been called out for it. There are hundreds, thousands, or others in American police state who are getting away with literal murder. In many cases, literally, simply because they can. The cop who shoots the unarmed citizen first and asks questions later might get put on paid leave for a while or take a job with another police department, but that's just a slap on the wrist. The shootings, the SWAT team raids, and excessive use of force will continue because the police unions and politicians and the courts won't do a thing to stop it. The war hawks who are making a profit by waging endless wars abroad, killing innocent civilians in hospitals and schools, and turning the American homeland into a domestic battlefield will continue to do so because neither the president nor the politicians will dare to challenge the military-industrial complex. The National Security Agency that carries out warrantless surveillance on Americans' internet and phone communications will continue to do so because the government doesn't want to relinquish any of its ill-gotten powers and its total control of the populace. Unless something changes in the way we deal with these ongoing egregious abuses of power, the predators of the police state will continue to wreak havoc on our freedoms, our communities, and our lives. Police officers will continue to shoot and kill unarmed citizens. Government agents, including local police, will continue to dress and act like soldiers on a battlefield. Bloated government agencies will continue to fleece taxpayers while eroding our liberties. Government technicians will continue to spy on our emails and our phone calls. Government contractors will continue to make a killing by waging endless wars abroad. Powerful men and women will continue to abuse their powers of office by treating those around them as underlings and second-class citizens who are unworthy of dignity and respect and undeserving of legal rights and protections that should be afforded to all Americans. As Dr. Keltner, a professor of psychology at the University of California, Berkeley, observed in the Harvard Business Review, while people usually gain power through traits and actions that advance the interest of others, such as empathy, collaboration, openness, fairness, and sharing, when they start to feel powerful or enjoy a position of privilege, those qualities just mentioned begin to fade. The powerful are more likely than other people to engage in rude, selfish, and unethical behavior. After conducting a series of experiments into the phenomenon of how power corrupts, Keltner concluded just the random assignment of power and all kinds of mischief ensues, and people will become impulsive. They eat more resources than is their fair share. They take more money. People become more unethical. They think unethical behavior is okay if they engage in it. People are more likely to stereotype. They're more likely to stop attending to other people carefully. So power corrupts. We know this, folks. Power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. And so power corrupts and absolute power corrupts absolutely. We know this. However, it takes a culture of entitlement and a nation of compliant, willfully ignorant, politically divided citizens to provide the foundations of tyranny. As researchers Joris Lammers and Adam Galansky found, those in power not only tend to abuse that power, but they also feel entitled to abuse it. People with power that they think is justified break rules not only because they can get away with it, but also because they feel at some intuitive level that they are entitled to take what they want. As I point out in my book, Battlefield America, The War on American People, for too long now, Americans have tolerated an oligarchy and a powerful elite group of wealthy donors, and is calling the shots. They have paid homage to the patriotism while allowing the military-industrial complex to spread death and destruction abroad, and they have turned a blind eye to all the manner of wrongdoing when it was politically expedient. We need to restore the rule of law for all people, no exceptions. Here's what the rule of law means in a nutshell. It means that everyone is treated the same under the law, everyone is held equally accountable to abiding by the law, and no one is given a free pass based on their politics, their connections, their wealth, their status, or any other bright line test used to confer special treatment to the elite. The culture of compliance must stop. The empowerment of petty tyrants and political gods must end. The state of denial must cease. Let's not allow this Epstein sex scandal to become just another blip in the news cycle that goes all away all too soon, only to be forgotten with another titillating news headline when it takes its place. Sex trafficking, like so many of evils in our midst, is a cultural disease that is rooted in American police states of heart of darkness, and it speaks to a far-reaching corruption and stretches from the highest seats of power down to the most hidden corners, and relies on our silence and our complicity to turn a blind eye to the wrongdoing. If we want to put an end to these wrongs, we must keep our eyes wide open. And I have said that before, folks, eyes wide open. No longer can we keep them shut. No longer. All right, we say it here all the time, never take what we say. Watch everything you want, listen to everybody you can, read everything you can, but believe none of it, folks. Believe none of it till you can verify it in your own right. Use your head, your gut, your heart, whatever works for you, looking at facts, reading lots of stuff, and just believing none of it till you can connect all the dots and put it all together and come to a conclusion based off lots of articles and facts that you can, as many facts as you can find. And sometimes it's harder than others, but the truth is always out there amongst all the lies. It's just part of the rules of how it's conducted. All right, there's always going to be some truth out there, and those with the eyes and ears will hear and see and hear, and those that don't just won't. So all right, we're going to shut this one down. Again, I'm Michael. This is a Patriot Hour. God bless, Godspeed to each and every one of you worldwide, and we'll see you back here real soon on the next Patriot Hour update. Have a great Saturday late afternoon into your evening, and we'll see you back here on the next Patriot Hour update.